America, and welcome to the home front. We have a great lineup for you today. We're going to be discussing the topic of war and when are we okay with our own troops going into war, into battle, even on another country's soil. We'll talk about HIV and whether or not you're okay with your partner or your significant other not having to disclose whether or not they're HIV positive. Plus, guys, we're going to see a great video from Congressman Hunt. He describes it as his favorite Trump moment. You're not going to want to miss that. But take a look at this video. One moment.
Is war really necessary? When is it truly justifiable to deploy our brave troops into conflict? These questions are more pressing than ever as we reflect on the last 4 major wars and the immense human cost involved. In a recent interview with RFL, Dr. Phil discussed an alarming statement by RFK. The American military has lost $4 trillion worth of assets. This staggering loss reflects a lack of care and accountability, with assets simply misplaced. Such negligence raises significant concerns about the efficiency and responsibility of our military expenditures. Turning our attention to the current Middle East crisis, unsettling parallels emerge with the attack on Pearl Harbor. There are claims that Israel's defense was intentionally stood down, allowing ill-equipped attackers to enter and trigger the war. This deliberate inaction, if true, would mirror historical instances where strategic complacency led to devastating conflicts. The Russia-Ukraine war is another complex situation. Initially, a treaty negotiated between Ukraine and Russia offered a path to peace. However, this was disrupted when the Biden administration reportedly instructed former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson to go to Ukraine and undermine the agreement. This interference is seen by many as a catalyst for the ongoing conflict. During the night of the recent presidential debate, President Biden escalated the use of U.S. missiles against Russia. Why? This pattern of behavior is eerily similar to the events that escalated World War I and World War II, from conflicts between 2 parties to global wars. Moreover, we must criticize the men making these decisions, who bungle conversations for peace and instead default to a level of incompetence that results in war. As General Flynn said, war is a failure. It's a failure to resolve matters through other means. Here are the casualty figures so far. Afghanistan war from 2001 to 2021 saw over 2,400 U.S. military deaths and approximately 47,000 Afghan civilian casualties. The Iraq war from 2003 to 2011 resulted in nearly 4,500 U.S. military deaths and estimates of 100,000 to 600,000 Iraqi deaths. The war on ISIS, ongoing since 2014, has varied widely in casualty figures, but thousands of military and civilian lives have been lost. In the Russia-Ukraine war, as of now, thousands of military personnel and civilians on both sides have perished, with precise numbers difficult to ascertain due to the ongoing nature of the conflict. Amid these conflicts, a troubling pattern emerges. A small group of men and women, shareholders in companies contracted to produce weapons and war-related materials, have profited immensely. This raises ethical concerns about the influence of the military-industrial complex on decisions to go to war. Are these decisions driven by genuine security concerns or by the pursuit of profit? As we reflect on the sacrifices made by our service members, it's crucial to scrutinize the motivations behind these wars and strive for a future where peace and diplomacy are prioritized over conflict and profit.
So I guess that really brings us to a really heavy subject about profit on these wars. And I know we're gonna get into that soon enough. But guys, I did want to just take a quick chance. You know, we like to at least give you guys kind of a pop question, something that maybe you haven't had time to prepare for. Guys, do you, if you had your choice, you know how most people in relationships, we do some kind of date night? Would you rather stay in on a date night or would you rather go out on a date night? Any preferences?
I do both.
Oh, you like to do both?
I do both. I love to dress up. I love to go out elegantly and classy. He's my Adam Sandler, so he's going to go in his little shorts and sometimes a collared shirt.
So cute.
But he likes it that way. But then we also love to stay home in front of the fireplace and just like snuggle up and, you know, do footsies and watch a movie or just sit together and chat, pillow talk. We do all of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm with Demi. I like the dynamic of both.
Yes.
When you're able to be intimate, like at home in a nice little setting where there's not much distractions. It's kind of just you and the two of you. But I also like to get really dressed up. I like that that just the all eyes on us kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know? We're
Even
like
though I know what they're saying.
Because you look good. You look good.
Yeah, I
Aly.
look good, baby. That's right. I love it. I like both for sure.
Yeah, me too. I definitely like both, but if I had to choose between like only staying in or like only going out, I definitely choose staying in because one, money.
True.
We like to save that here.
Yes.
And I don't know. It's more romantic and like intimate if it's just one-on-one, you know? Like you can get dressed up and have date night with a little picnic out back. Like
Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can.
You can.
I like to get dressed up and go out. I
Yeah.
do have to tell my husband that we're going to a pants-worthy restaurant.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And because it's a fight. It is, since we moved here.
Yep.
He will not wear pants unless I make him wear pants.
It's crazy to me.
And I like to just the two of us go
Yeah.
to a nice restaurant and just enjoy the meal and talk. It's just very personal, and I enjoy that.
Yes.
I think I've always liked, I don't know, staying home if we're having like, whether it's a family night or when we were watching a movie or just staying home in general, those don't seem like dates. They just seem like Monday through Friday. So I really, especially being a stay-at-home mom for all those years, when I could get the chance to dress up and like,
It's a treat.
we're going to talk about like real conversation. I love that. So I think I like the date night out.
I love seeing like him dress up because he always like puts on his boots with his nice jeans and his little belt, and I'm just like, he looks so handsome.
It's the cowboy boots. It's the
It
cowboy
is.
boots.
It's the boots.
The boots and the buckle.
Okay, that's where the lighthearted conversation ends, I think, today, ladies.
no.
Listening to some of these numbers of casualties going on for the infinite wars that we've had, I think it's interesting that General Michael Flynn refers to war as really a defeat.
Failure.
If you've gotten to the point where you're at war, then something's gone wrong. What do you guys think about, is there a time, I mean, the Bible says there's a time for war. What do we think about, when are we comfortable going into war?
Well, General Flynn said it best. Like he said, he'd give us an A for starting wars, and he'd give us an F for winning them.
Yeah.
We keep starting wars that we can't get into, like we can't afford to get into. Let's try and solve things a different way, people.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Peace through strength. I miss that.
Yes.
Peace
Miss
through
that.
strength.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Aly,
Now it's weakness.
well, and you've been in the military, so I know people sign up and that's what they know what they're going into. But
And you're never prepared for it. I've never been to war, but I did sign up during conflict. But it's just, you're not ever prepared for that. Even through the training that you go through, it is very different than when you're actually there. I've had friends that have gone, family members that have gone. It's just, it's not the same. Training doesn't cut it. And especially this last war, I guess you'd say, the Iraqi war, Afghan war, there's been kind of like this conflict where they don't really understand why they're there.
the objective.
Right. What's the objective? And there's
Right.
been some situations where they may have found some information that probably wasn't what they said they were. Like this weapons of mass destruction. It was more weapons of mass distraction and, you know, guarding, you know, gas pipes, you know, oil pipes and things of that nature instead of actually doing the mission of Iraqi freedom.
Right.
So it's just, you never know what the underlying, you know, reasoning is. And that's why so many of us that have served always say that we need more military people in office in the House of Representatives so that they could, because they understand, especially war, our war decorated military members, because they understand what's really at stake. They know that the lives, that they're actual people, right? And when you have suits that are in office that just, they're like, oh, it's fine, and just sign on the dotted line. Like, yeah, sure, let's send our daughters and sons over to fight some ridiculous thing that we have no control over and can't possibly win. It it rubs people the wrong way for sure. And then you end up with, you know, soldiers that
So
come
do you think
home
it takes
wrapped in the
something-
American flag.
Aly, does it take something like 9/11 to say, okay, I'm okay with going into war? Does it take something like,
I think so.
you heard in the
Yes.
video, how many times do countries stand down and allow certain things to happen so that the aggression is then results in a war?
Yeah, that's
Ramped
weak
up.
leadership. That's weak leadership for sure. And I mean, we had a great example with President Trump being the strong leader that he was
True.
and understanding what our troops go through when they are at war because he had good general counsel from, you know, military. I mean, we had Secretary of Defense was Representative Corey Mills.
Yeah.
So, and he's been to war several times and he understands what's at stake there. And so when you have people that understand the situation, know what's at stake and can give good counsel, you end up with a president like President Trump, who's like, will sit there and say, look, if you don't do what I'm asking you to do, you're going to die.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I think we need that and we miss that because we had peace.
We did have peace. It was
All around the
historic
world.
peace.
Yeah.
It was historic peace that had never happened ever in the world.
Right.
It was all flushed.
And that, I mean, it just goes to
Instantly.
show that you can negotiate.
Yes.
You can negotiate to get people to do what they need to do so that we're not killing each other.
If you want to.
If you want to. That's the part.
If you want to. And
That
I
part
think
right there.
this part at the bottom is the most troubling, which is how many people earn their living from the war industry.
Absolutely.
It's an industry.
It is an industry.
Putting people's lives in harm's way.
Yeah.
That's disturbing.
Yeah. And most facets of government have their hands somehow in it.
And all these other elected people and non-elected people who have these gigantic net worths on a public servant salary. Ask yourself,
Wild.
where does that come from?
Who benefits?
This has to be a part of it.
You know, guys, when you think back to, and I'm just going off of kind of what I've seen historically and in movies, I know they romanticize it a lot, but in World War II, people couldn't wait. Your young men especially couldn't wait to join and enlist in the military and get sent to war. It was clear the objective. It was almost like they felt like it was their patriotic duty. You know, whether you kind of agree with that now looking back or not, it was a sense of duty to go to war. Today, I hear most people talking about war, at least in our circle of friends, as let's do everything we can to avoid that.
Yes.
Do you think maybe part of that was like a psyop, almost brainwashing back then? Like we have to, war is your duty, and now we're questioning it more?
I mean, maybe not at that time, because that time period was very detrimental to the world, and there needed to be some help in that area.
Because of how severe it was with Hitler. Got
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
But now I think when we have a war that's gone on for 20 years, like that's different. It leaves a very nasty taste in your mouth, and you're just like, yeah, how about we just take care of America first, and leave everybody else? Like, we cannot be the police of the world. We just can't. We can't.
It's true.
That's so true.
It's not sustainable. Not to our population, not to our pocket.
Now I'll date myself. My father was in World War II.
Yeah.
My dad served in World War II in the Navy.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it was a completely different entity, a completely different world. There had been no nuclear bombs dropped. There was no nuclear threat. All of that occurred during World War II. So it was truly an innocence is almost the way I think about it.
Yeah.
That we no longer have.
Yeah.
We have a 24-hour news cycle. Everything is known about everybody instantly.
That's very true.
It's a totally different world. So we also have this me generation, this me concept that we're our own God. Oh, I don't have to serve anybody. Yes, you do. We have to serve each other.
Yeah.
We do have to serve our country. I have not served in the military, and thank you that you have. I think that's huge. My dad never talked about it with me. He talked with Scott about it, but he never talked with me about it. It is very personal, and you're correct. I don't think any training could prepare anyone for the realities of what's there. It has to be a horrible burden on anyone who has to make that decision. I've had the honor to sit with General Flynn, and I know that he has had to send people into that situation.
And you just hope and pray you're making the best decision.
Yes.
That's heavy.
Yes, that is huge.
That is a heavy burden.
But I think something like World War II, where the world really was threatened, 9/11, where it was on our soil, or we believed it was on our soil, whether it was internal or not, it was on our soil that people were attacked. And then the Civil War. The Civil War is not listed here, but the Civil War, more people died in the Civil War than all of these combined.
Yeah.
And we had a tiny population. As a percentage, the Civil War killed more people.
Wow.
Yes.
Because of the
huge.
population.
Because our population was so much smaller.
Yeah.
So, and in that situation, you had brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor. And it really was about fundamental beliefs. And that's sort of where we sit today.
Right now, yeah.
Well, and they're blurring the lines of what is war, because we were kind of in these soft wars, I guess. We are meddling.
sure.
We have our hands in there.
Yeah.
I understand we have boots on the ground there, but we're not calling it war. We're not involved in the war. We've got our hands in so many things, and I feel like we've blurred the lines. We're no longer calling it what it is.
Yes.
And we're eventually going to have to reap what we sow with that. And that comes at a cost, and that's American lives. And I'm not willing to give that. So whoever is up there that needs to do some things, y'all need to go get it done, because this is not okay.
No. And you think about even our Vietnam generation. I mean, they came back and never. I ran into was at an event the other day and ran into a gentleman. I said, "Thank you for your service," and I read his hat, and he said, "Thank you." He said, "We are the generation that came back and never got a thank you."
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
They did
By
not.
the time they came back, they were the enemy.
Yes.
According to a majority of the liberal. I would say left and liberal.
All the dang college kids.
I mean, it's true. And they did not come back the same.
No.
So I kind of got from you, Aly, you're not okay with putting boots on the ground, our men and women right now. There's nothing you see burning around the country that we need to be involved in. Do y'all feel this kind of same way?
If we're going to put boots on the ground, it needs to be at our southern and northern borders.
Yes.
Yes.
And the border by, California, because this is crazy over there. But southern and
But
northern
the
borders.
question could
that needs
come
to be,
to all of us. At what point am I, and I'll point these fingers this way, am I willing to put my life, the life of my husband, the life of my children on the line? It's coming. It will come.
The American Revolution, when you look back at 14-year-olds who carried muskets into Boston to defend Boston Harbor, it was a family thing. I mean, they fought for this country. You look at the Civil War.
That's right.
It's actually written in our founding documents that when a government becomes too big for its britches, so to speak, and no longer realizes that they operate only through the consent of the governed, you are required to demolish it.
Well,
Yep.
there you go.
And that's an order. That was not, they didn't softly write that, so I don't know, guys, at home, are we close to
I think there
seeing
are
that
other
someday?
ways to handle the demolition of government without firing a shot. It's education, activating, and empowering people to go do something, to go vote, to go investigate, to go talk to their neighbors about the situations that we see currently. That's kind of what we're doing here, right? But I think when you have government that is actively harming its people, like sarin gas or, things of that nature, like then that gets a little sketchy and people might need to arm up for that.
But what happens when they're on your doorstep?
Oh, for sure.
Because I don't know about anybody else, but I contemplated that through COVID. Because it was the first time I could see, oh my gosh, these people are okay with me being hauled off somewhere because I won't take a shot.
That's correct.
Because I won't stick a needle in my arm. They were just
so many
ready to
things went
write
through
you
my mind.
off. So I think and maybe that's where you were getting to, that there may come a time. I mean, obviously we hope this doesn't happen, but I don't know.
I've had them knock on my door. And yes.
Wait, you told me about this, but you
trust
haven't
me.
told them about it.
Yes. My husband and I took a trip in Arizona, and we purchased ammo. We went from Tucson to Flagstaff, and we stopped all along the way on these little places, and we bought ammo. No big deal.
Yeah.
Bonnie and Clyde.
I used a credit card.
Right.
It's not like I'm hiding. I'm not doing anything illegal.
Right. You're just buying ammo.
Came home, 5 days. Knock, knock, knock.
What?
The Census Bureau is at my front door at 1:30 in the afternoon on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, really? Oh, and her name was Elizabeth Taylor. With her computer open like this. I'm coming in, and
no, you're not.
that was that moment when I'm thinking, and I know my husband, he's sitting in the lounger chair with a gun in his pocket, and I thought, if she comes over that threshold, he's going to shoot her.
Yeah.
And then whoever else is out there with her is going to shoot me. Is this okay? I'm an American citizen. I did nothing wrong.
Right.
I know full well that's why they were there. I just refused to let them in.
Good.
Which you can
That
do.
was my
Yes,
decision.
you have the
And
right.
I just kept saying,
and
no, no,
what's
no,
important-
no.
What's important to understand too, and I learned this from lawyer friends of mine, you have to verbally say that you want a lawyer. You have to actually say that. You can't like, I'm not answering your question. Like you have to literally say, I need a lawyer. I will speak to my lawyer. I'm retaining a lawyer. And that just repeat it. You don't have to answer anything they ask you. You don't even have to give your name. They already know your name. They're
Oh,
there.
yeah, they know.
So just tell them.
But it was
you
that
want a lawyer.
moment.
That's wild.
It was a little scary. And I thought, okay, here we go.
Well,
And I was going to die.
Well, you know, liberty is not free.
No.
It requires, like I've said several times, a very significant level of sacrifice. That's your money, your time, or your life. And sometimes it's all three. And you have to figure out when and where you're going to give that.
That's fair.
I think it's fair to have this conversation right now because we're up against a really crucial election season. There's a lot riding on our primary elections and our general elections, and I think everybody's willing to accept a result if the result is fair and transparent. And we've seen what happened in 2020. There's actually a large majority of Republicans and a heavy dose of those independents that now question the results of 2020. The thing we were called crazy for, now most people are asking that same question. We're not doing it in 2024. This ride does not go around again. So I hear in my circles a dialing up, if you will, of just being prepared and being cautious, being steady-minded, being level-headed, being subdued a little bit, not trying to start any trouble, but an understanding that we're not going through round two again because there's so much riding on this, right? I don't want our young men and women fighting over there on the border of Ukraine while others are coming across our southern border.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like how that doesn't make any sense to anybody. Like I don't. If you're for war in Ukraine and sending our kids like to go fight that, but you're okay with an open border, like it doesn't. How do you compute that? I don't get it. It just it doesn't make sense at all.
Absolutely.
Corinne said something earlier about the fact that the protests that occur in Washington, D.C. now are paid protesters instead of organic protests.
Right.
That is an outgrowth of the J6ers who have been persecuted as political prisoners. That has been done specifically to squelch free speech in this country.
Yes.
And obviously, it's been effective.
Yes.
That
Because people are scared to talk.
But that's when you're pushing the line, the envelope for someone like me.
And you need to
I
understand.
think for most people, I really do think like there's this silent, I hate this silent majority thing, but I really do think that we're getting to a point where you're going to push people a little too far and they're just going to come out swinging.
Yep.
And
So
I'm
here
a
we
little
sit,
nervous.
ladies. Five of
we
us.
willing?
Five of us. Okay. We all. I always say I would not do well in prison because I'd be like I can't get my nails done. But we all sit here.
I'll use them as a weapon, like this in the eye. Bones heal, eyes
She would
don't.
do good in prison, apparently. But I sit here and we the topics we talk about, we're free to talk about. But you've heard Corrine in other segments, other episodes talk about through the Supreme Court some of the rulings that have come down that are not in our favor to have a free speech platform.
Right.
And I think that so we may not be talking about going into war, but this is a different type of war. It's a
is
free
war.
speech and information war. Are we? I mean, is there
Spiritual
anything that would make you say I don't want my seat here anymore? This is getting too heavy.
Yeah. No.
No.
I'm gonna.
Demi?
No.
I know she was like adjusting her seat.
I'm ready. I'm always ready to fight because I'm just such a fighter, and I believe in our rights because we are American citizens, and we basically put these men in position so they can speak on our behalf to advocate for us. And what they're doing is just taking full advantage. I took some notes, and I love what General Flynn said. War is a failure. And why is that? I think for me personally, what business do we have going into other countries or even supplying other countries?
Yes.
What are we thinking? Trillions of dollars. America's already in debt, trillions and trillions of dollars, firstly. Secondly, when we had to leave the war, what was it, in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
When we had to leave the war, what did we leave? We not only left all of our like war weapons and gear, but we also we basically dropped our pride. We left it there.
Yep. We left people.
We left our people.
We left people.
I mean, it's just disgusting. And so it wasn't just weapons and the people, individuals I wrote here, but we, excuse me, we also left all of our materials, anything that was important to our men and women to be safe over there, they now have access to because it was all dropped.
I think it was $85 million worth of equipment left over there.
And who's paying for that? It's coming out of our pocket again.
Yep.
And why is it
being used against us?
And used against us? Like, what kind of nonsense is that?
Yes.
So now, what I have here now, they have our weapons. Where's our dignity? Where's our pride in that?
Yes, absolutely.
And our people are I am tired of hearing about war when we have our own in our own country.
Yes.
We are warring against our own government.
Yes.
So instead of going out to other countries, stop sending money that we don't have because we're already in debt. We are so deficient in finances that if I go to another country right now, our money is no longer valuable to what it was once before.
Yes.
The value level is out the window. So, those of you who live in other countries and you send your money, your family the money, it doesn't mean anything anymore because their money is probably more valuable than our own money here in this country. And I love that's how bad it is.
I love
sad.
the reference in that video too this all dials down to ineffective, weak leadership.
Yep. Yes.
Correct. Strong leaders will create that peaceful time because they will not take anything. You guys are going to want to stay tuned. We're going to have a really fun video. Congressman Hunt says it's his best moment with Trump. We're going to see that here in a minute. We'll be back with more Homefront. Stay tuned.
You know what? You have a special opportunity to see a little bit more behind the scenes. If you subscribe, only premium members, tell them what they're going to see, guys.
I don't know if you're ready for this. I know that we always say this on the show, like, what if they could see behind the scenes of every episode or every time we break? Like, I don't know if you guys are ready for this. We're quite wild on the show, but behind the scenes, it's even better.
Like, for example, today we're on the road. We're in West Palm, and I would have loved for you to see when we were packing the RV.
Dude, oh my gosh, this little Latino woman hops in the back of this little van or whatever it is, this little SUV, and just starts loading it. And she's like, I ain't waiting on the men, and I was like, absolutely, because if you ask me to do it, it'll take 3 to 5 business days. So the Latino woman just
So we did it.
Yes. And then our actual car showed up, and we had to unpack
after we already packed.
Oh my God, repack it, and this one is in the back in the trunk, just pulling all the stuff in. It was great. It was, I really wish we would have recorded that.
Well, and it's the stuff too when we're in the studio, the stuff that ends up on the cutting room floor.
Oh my gosh, like during the commercial breaks where we're always talking about like, oh my gosh, if you could only see what happens during the commercial break. Well, now you can. You're welcome.
There you go.
And when we come back, we're always laughing. I'm sure you guys
you'll know why.
trying to figure out what happened.
Do you want in on the inside joke?
Yes, you do. I don't know. I'm a little nervous.
You are going to have to subscribe. Our premium members only get the behind the scenes.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to talk about a limited time offer of subscriptions to Patriot.tv and how you can become a member of our Patriot Defenders subscription club and become a member of Patriot.tv. Really, it's America's network. I call it the home of truth. And you can do that for only $9.99 a month. It's a great deal by itself, but what I'm going to walk you through here in these next few seconds is a couple of package deals that we have that are unbelievable. The next membership was the annual membership at $99 that you can save. Right away, you save $20 if you come in at the annual subscription rate. The best deal that I think that people ought to seriously consider is the 2-year membership at $159. And it includes a special edition of my recently released documentary, Flynn, Deliver the Truth, Whatever the Cost. So along with the 2-year membership, the 2-year subscription will send you a DVD combo of the film, plus an option to stream the movie online, as well as exclusive interviews of Tucker Carlson, Devin Nunes, and myself. So go to the home of truth, right? Go to Patriot.tv today, sign up. Seriously consider the 2-year subscription rate. It's an unbelievable savings. I think it's a total savings of about $70 from just signing up on a monthly or a annual basis. So thank you very much for your support. Patriot.tv is America's new network. Thank you.
Hello, welcome back to the home front. Guys, I'm glad that you stayed tuned. I want you ladies and our guests at home here to watch this video. This is Congressman Hunt. He sat down with Byron Donaldson on a podcast, and they were talking about their favorite Trump moments, and this was his favorite moment. This is what I'm talking about when I say if we had effective leadership, we wouldn't be in these endless wars. Take a look.
I'm gonna give you my favorite President Trump story. This is my #1 favorite of all time. When we were negotiating with the Taliban, while President Trump was still the president, President Trump wanted to get out of Afghanistan, but he wanted a conditions-based withdrawal. Meaning that you do what we tell you to do, and then we will start pulling troops back slowly as long as you abide by our rules. It's President Trump and Mike Pompeo, and they are talking to Taliban leadership in the room, and they had one translator in the room. President Trump looked at the Taliban leader and said this: I want to leave Afghanistan, but it's going to be a conditions-based withdrawal. And translator translated. And he said, if you harm a hair on a single American, I'm going to kill you. And the translator goes, and Trump goes, tell him. Translate.
Yes.
Tell him what I said. Tell him what I said. Reached in his pocket, pulled out a satellite photo of the leader of the Taliban's home and handed it to him.
Shut up.
Got up and walked out the room.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
That is the definition of masculinity.
Oh
right
my
there.
gosh.
Ooh,
I know where you live.
Negotiating power.
Oh, I love that.
It's like a new art of the deal, right?
Yes.
Art of the deal. This is
that.
the art of the keeping the country safe deal. So,
That's how you keep yourself and others out of war.
Yes.
Right there.
That.
and the entire world was safer for it.
Correct.
Which is why we have, I don't know if you guys have seen even on X or any other social media platform that allows it, a lot of people from around the world are saying, you know, you can like him, disagree with some of his comments, whatever, but we were stronger and more secure when America was under Trump's leadership.
We need him back.
I love that. We need more of that.
Oh, your pin
More
is
of it.
falling. Uh-oh, my
She's
pin is
gonna
falling.
honestly, and not just from the head of our country, not just from the chief.
Because what happens in 2028?
We're gonna need it in our House of Representatives, which encompasses all of United States foreign relations and things of that nature. But also we need to make sure that we have leaders like that in the Senate because they speak for your state.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you're not having, or you don't have proper representation in Congress for your state that makes sure that your state is sovereign, then we're going to have some problems homeside, stateside. But also it goes down to locally. We need to make sure your governors are behaving that way.
Correct.
We need to make sure your sheriffs are behaving that way. Hillsborough County. We need to make sure that we have good leadership in office to prevent drastic situations.
So what do you say? And I'm curious, like even from Brianna, because you're younger and the younger generation, there are a lot of people out there that comment just hurt their little feelings because it was really tough. And did you just say you were going to kill somebody if they harmed the hair on one American's head?
Touch my kid, watch what happens.
There you go.
Exactly.
Right
Ask a mama.
Yep.
And that's those people that are being harmed, that's somebody's child.
Right.
You got a mama on the other end of that.
And when that soldier does die, who's responsible? Who's responsible? The president is responsible. Yes. Congress is responsible because they signed to go to war.
Yes.
And the president has to take that.
Yeah.
But did you know that we have not gone to war?
Which is an impeachable offense.
Congress has not passed any of that.
So why
all
we
the way
have
back to Vietnam.
why we
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
So
look
all
it
the
up.
Afghan, Iraq stuff.
Yeah.
That's not
Wow.
war. No declarations of war
Wow,
through
yeah.
Congress.
Yep.
Yes, it's
gaslighting.
really
That's
disturbing.
wild when you think about it.
Gaslighting is what
Gaslighting.
you- gaslighting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
So how do they get away
didn't
with
even
that?
know
They
that.
just
They call
call
it
them.
a police action. They call it training. You said it yourself. We don't really have boots on the ground. Yes,
blurred
we do.
lines.
We have all of this other stuff.
You see why they're freaking out?
Yes.
That now they've come out with immunity.
Yes.
This ruling. I mean, it's always been there. It's not
Right.
like this is new. Presidents have always had immunity. They just want to politicize this because they know that he knows that there are people that are around him that know where the bodies are buried.
Yep.
They know the ins and outs of the corruption and how deep it goes. General Flynn and
Yes.
Ivan and
Yes.
Boone Cutler. Like they all
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they are projecting their fear because they know that once he gets in and he gets the right people as reinforcements, they're coming after the ones that have completely destroyed this nation.
Good.
No holds barred.
And it
because
needs to happen.
Woo-hoo.
It needs to happen.
God, we just pray that we get there because there's a lot that can take place before November. And it sounds like, I mean, here on this panel, I think we're all in agreement as far as that Trump reaction. That's right up our alley. But we have to understand there are people that couldn't go to work the next day after Trump won in 2016. I mean, it was a real... Cue the memes that come up. But
Listen,
no, yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg didn't even show up after the debate. She was so upset. So
No.
Yeah, I swear to God.
Well, when Hillary didn't win, I found out the universities, they had a crying room.
Oh, what?
It's true. It's true.
Oh,
And I
these
know
poor
it's true
babies.
because my sister-in-law was in college when that happened, and she was like, "Oh, never mind. I'm not going to say anything." She just said there was a crying room.
There was a crying room.
A crying room.
And she
But
was
did you
going,
die?
Pathetic.
But did you die? Did you die? Your feelings are hurt.
Did you
Yours
die?
is cute.
Your sticker. Don't talk about your sticker.
Yes.
True story, though. I went to...
hair.
At the time, I was working, I was a night auditor at a local hotel chain, big chain. And I went in for my shift. It was right after I knew he won. I couldn't watch all the celebration because, you know, I had to work.
Yeah.
And so I walk into work and the two people that I was relieving, they were like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. I says, Trump won. Like, what's the plan? I was like, what? You're going to go home.
Yeah.
You're going to
What do you
go
mean?
to sleep. You're going to wake up the next day. You're going to come back in here and you're going to work. Like,
Yeah.
but there was
And
this.
guess what?
There was this
They're
like
going to be safer.
there was this delusion that like something tomorrow is going to happen differently.
Well, and I still think that there's a little bit of veil that needs to be lifted from, or wool that needs to be lifted from the eyes of a few people still here in America that are just like so stuck on CNN.
Yeah.
And brainwashed a little bit with all the rhetoric and all the things that they're talking about in order for us to get to an understanding that under President Trump, we were way better, way safer. We had more money in our pocket.
Yes, it doesn't matter if you liked him or not.
It doesn't, and get your emotions out of it. Like, stop voting with your emotions. You have to look at policy. And the only question that needs to be asked is, one, do you want to send you and your children to war to fight in Ukraine that has absolutely nothing to do with America? And were you better off 4 years ago?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Only two questions. Because if you feel honestly, and I have not met anybody that has said that I was better off 4 years ago, that I wasn't better off 4 years ago.
Which is what I loved about, if you go to the Homefront social media, especially on Instagram is where I saw it, the reel that our Gen Zer Camden did. I love it because he actually, one of the guys did feel comfortable telling him, you know, I am a Democrat.
Yeah.
And so he just kind of said, great, so tell me a little bit about what you thought of the debate or whatever. But even he had a hard time saying, wasn't better off 4 years ago. And I think that's the reality that people are coming to. So it's not a personal decision of do you like this person?
Yeah, I don't care.
It's the policy and
I don't
it's the way
care
around
what
the
your
country.
personal life looks like. I don't care what your business life looks like. I don't care what investments you have. Can you do the job?
Yes. And it's a huge job.
Right.
I love it. I love it. Guys, we are going to need your help to continue with this, not only the free speech that you see here, but to fight for our republic. I know not all of us are being called to go into the military, but there's a part that you can play. We need you to get involved even in our local primaries, your voting in your primaries, getting involved with your local candidates. You can be a poll watcher, and no, that's not what you're thinking. That is the voting poll watchers. Election worker. We're gonna have to change that term.
Yeah, an election worker.
Election worker. But there's something for you to do. So make sure that you get involved locally. We're gonna send you on a quick message about how you can use the Homefront.tv to help you find out where you can get plugged in locally. We'll be right back.
Former National Security Advisor Lieutenant General Michael Flynn pleaded guilty today for lying to the FBI.
He was one of the most respected generals in the military.
He was, by definition, the most dangerous possible person for Donald Trump to hire.
Brilliant military career, serving 33 years. Why was he being so elusive?
Mike Flynn told the truth and faced life in prison.
Every American needs this historical DVD keepsake. Flynn delivered the truth, whatever the cost. Hand-signed by General Michael Flynn, one of America's most treasured military heroes. Order now at the Patriot TV store. Go to Patriot TV, click on Store, and grab a once-in-a-lifetime chance to own a treasured piece of American history. And get your own personal download link to watch America's most talked-about movie, as well as a DVD hand-signed by General Michael Flynn. Use promo code PTV at checkout to get special savings. The Patriot TV store, incredible savings and a secure, hassle-free shopping experience.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Hello, America. This is your breaking news update from Up News. More of the Homefront in just a moment. But first, the complete blasphemy played out during the woke opening ceremony of the 2024 Paris Olympics has sparked outrage across the globe. The purposeful defamation of the iconic Last Supper scene is further proof of the depravity that exists today in our culture. DEI definitions must not have made it to the Olympic Committee headquarters this year. That or their version of DEI wasn't meant to be all-inclusive of Christians. It did, however, include things like drag queens, lots of exposed genitalia, and choreography that could only be produced by Satan himself. Not only did the opening ceremonies completely miss the mark that prior years have hit by inspiring and moving people with patriotic messages and being excited for competition, this year's production seemed to lack the magic and creativity of the years past. I was reminded of Galatians 6:7. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. You know, later that night, there was a blackout throughout Paris, with the exception of a church on a hilltop. The church illuminated throughout the night, the only light in Paris throughout the night. And then the next day, Christians throughout the city took to the streets in complete worship and fellowship. God just got the last word, guys, and I celebrate that. We should all celebrate that. In other news, with the former Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle dismissed, the second in command, Ronald Rowe, has apparently gotten a promotion. There's just one problem. Rowe is a part of the leadership team that has been denying President Trump's team's requests for more security. He's a large part of the failure, guys, and now we learned from a Pennsylvania SWAT officer that his team had no contact with the U.S. Secret Service at the rally that day in Butler, PA, until after the assassination attempt. Their wires were obviously crossed, or either it was a deliberate attempt to look the other way. I'll let you decide. But this was disclosed during an interview with SWAT team member Jason Woods, and he had this interview on ABC News. So this isn't even like it's Fox News reporting this. Mainstream media is now reporting this. Guys, I want you to stay tuned to Up News for more developments on that investigation. Also, it appears Black Lives Matter is not happy about the changeup at the top of the 2024 Democratic ticket. They released a statement saying, "We do not live in a dictatorship. Delegates are not oligarchs." Installing Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee and an unknown vice president without any public voting process would make the modern-day Democratic Party a party of hypocrites, end quote. I mean, I agree with you, but I can't believe BLM is saying this. There are so many questions in the lead up to the Democratic National Convention. I want to make sure that you tune in daily for Up News right here on Patriot TV, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Now, back to the home front.
Hi guys, welcome back to the home front. We are going to keep it rolling with some other topics that are pretty passionate. This one shocked me because I'm kind of somebody that came up in the 80s and 90s where we were well aware of AIDS and HIV. And one of the things that would happen when you got into a serious relationship, they would teach you this in school, to go ahead and get the test, get the HIV test, get the AIDS test, because you want to know what your partner's been through. So now with medication, apparently it can be almost undetectable.
Why?
HIV in your system. So here was my question. Should HIV and that kind of diagnosis of being HIV positive, should that be kept secret now?
No.
Is that private information?
No, not to your partner. No. I understand what's it called? The HIPAA laws.
Yeah.
I understand
they threw that out the window with COVID, didn't they?
That's true.
So
I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
No way.
if I had to submit to a store in order for me to go shopping for food for me to eat, a vaccine card, why would I not tell someone about being HIV positive?
Because it's a convenience.
Like,
It's a convenience for the
I
government.
don't understand why we're like not disclosing this information. Like, why do you want to hide that? I don't understand. Like, you can that. Okay, it may not be a death sentence anymore, but good Lord,
I remember.
when you want someone to know if you have like hepatitis B,
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
you know, so is that,
syphilis, like what?
Herpes.
Thank you.
do
What are
we
we doing?
not do we not have to test for those things in certain jobs? If you're handling food, if you're like, is that not a requirement?
Oh my God, I
Not
didn't even think about that.
anymore. No, not anymore.
think
I
so.
worked in the food
Bodily
industry for a
fluids?
while.
Nothing.
Daycare.
Nothing. What?
Dude, I had to
think
go
so.
through a whole training with daycare.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's no test.
Was there testing?
That makes me
No.
uncomfortable.
That's different.
And Demi, you were talking a little bit about a time when they would want you to take a test before you got married.
Yes,
Yes.
Really?
and that was
I had
because
blood tests.
Yes.
for blood types, if you and your spouse have the same rare blood type, it can cause a problem for your birthing, for having
Yeah, children,
pregnancies. Yeah. Then there is a time where physicals were important because you needed to know if you guys were, okay to have the children. AIDS was a big thing back then, and that's why it was a recommendation that they do it. But to what you had said before, STDs, you need to know what you're getting yourself into when you're laying with your forever partner. Because then what does that look like? Now you've contracted this disease, this virus, whatever you want to call it, and then you want to have children. Now you're going to give it to your child.
But I just saw the other day, I
Russian
just
roulette,
watched
like,
one of
stop.
these videos, like one of these commercials where,
that's so gross.
and of course, they have like, they have the same-sex marriages and all this, so I'm just watching the commercial, but I'm listening to and trying to read the fine print. HIV is almost undetectable on tests now.
I just don't understand why.
Is that because they're suppressing the virus
Yes.
that far?
It's got to be.
Or
something
are
like
they
that.
masking it?
That
Which
is
is
a
it?
good question.
I don't know.
That is because
Because if they're suppressing it, that's
it's not even
actually-
going to
where
come up on
it's
a
not
test.
communicable.
But then it may not be communicable.
Right.
Like we give
that's a good question,
chickenpox
Connie.
shots these days, and you can
Don't even get
suppress
us
that.
started with that.
You can suppress that. It's a herpes zoster that comes out as, what do they call it? Shingles.
Shingles.
Oh,
Later
it's
on in life.
oxalate. So it's oxalate. You're
Yep,
supposed to
yep,
oxalate your
yep.
cells. And like when that doesn't happen and you're not around people that have this boost in their immune system, when they get chickenpox, as an older person, you're more likely to have shingles, which they don't tell you.
No one talked about that.
No.
Correct.
So that brings up the question, like, how much do you think you I mean, gosh.
If you
we're
can
gonna have to
suppress a
disclose.
virus, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
If you can suppress a virus.
But if you're still HIV positive, like, so how do you have that question? Like, if you're, so young people out there, if you're dating, you know, are these the questions that you're still asking?
Just ask it. Yes, you should be. Are you
Listen,
HIV
if you're going to
positive?
spread the
I don't
legs,
know.
you better start
Ooh.
asking the questions.
Why
That's all
would
I'm
you?
saying.
Demi said it.
I'm just going to say, I'm just going there.
Dang.
Because how many of our young people now, young and old and mature, how many of them, like the villages, they all having intimacy amongst the, and I'm saying sex, S-E-X, they're all having sex with each other. They're all spreading their nasty gonorrhea and all that other junk that's happening, right? You have the right to ask that question if you're going to open your legs and do the things.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you shouldn't be. You know, I'm a godly woman. You know, what happens in the bedroom is in the bedroom with my spouse, but not with other people. And I think it's disgusting.
Well, it's so easy. Just say, are you clean?
No, honey, you don't just ask, are you clean? If we're going to lay together because you're so desperate to get in my pants, I want you to get tested.
Well,
Let's
no,
go
that's
get
what I'm saying.
physical.
Are you clean? Do you have proof of it? Okay,
Yeah.
then no.
What would be the proof?
A test.
A blood
You,
test?
I'm saying
see the
you
test?
take them down
That
to
should
the
be your
clinic
first
with
date,
you.
guys.
Wow.
This is what we've come to. This is what we've had to come to at this point,
Are you
right?
really a woman? Are you really a man? Do you have an STD? Are you HIV positive? Can you have babies?
Wow.
Are you vaccinated? Are you vaccinated?
Yeah, because I would not want to marry someone who's
Seriously,
vaccinated.
like,
Dude, that's actually one of the first questions that I ask when I'm on a date with someone is, are you vaccinated? Because if you are, then I have to look at you a little differently because that means that if we are going to go forward, I'm not going to have kids with you. I'm going to adopt.
This is a real thing. You did it, government. You did it.
You did this to
You
us.
did this.
We've allowed it. Let's fix that.
Let's fix that. It's what year is it?
Well, now they're going to have the bird flu vaccine. Are you kidding
Lord.
me? No.
Oh, goodness.
No.
At this
no.
point, I'm afraid if people get this vaccine, they're going to turn into birds. Like, they're going to start sprouting feathers.
They're going to start doing the chicken dance.
Guys, I feel it. I feel it. Achoo. Oh, no.
Oh, my God. It's like the Emperor's New Groove. He starts changing into it.
No,
Guys,
we don't need it.
so I think I agree with Connie. If this is really just helping to suppress the virus, think of
Then,
the people
yeah.
that could have benefited
yes.
from this. I'm thinking
to
of Freddie
expand their
Mercury.
life, like
For sure.
to
Freddie
extend their
Mercury, the
lifespan.
people that died
Yeah.
very horrible deaths because of this, which,
Right.
by the way, you know who else's hands and fingerprints are on the whole HIV epidemic?
Yeah.
Anthony Fauci.
Bro.
Yes.
I call him Frauci.
Frauci. He's
True. We're
Frauci.
name calling at this point.
Hashtag Fauci.
Well, if you think about it, back what year
would
was
make a
that?
great
It
Good
was,
Days,
It was before
84.
the 80. Was it 84? No, when he was in Africa and they banned him from going there because
Yes, he was giving
giving them
experiments
AIDS
to the-
experiments, but he was
Correct.
also causing the women to be barren.
Correct.
Yes.
They
So
were giving him
barren meaning you
shots,
can't give
vaccines.
birth.
I mean,
So-
why are they always going to Africa?
That is the
Don't say that.
question.
My boyfriend's going to Africa.
But they care so much about the marginalized
That's right.
and the disenfranchised.
Wow, guys.
You can
All
be
right.
disenfranchised and marginalized when you're over there killing people. Just
That's
saying.
right. That's right. And they do. They go right after the black and brown
Bill Gates.
community.
I
Bill
say we need to know.
Gates. Okay. Are we? I think we're all in unison on that.
Yep.
Even
We'd
if
lo-
it is a drug to help you, like with the illness, like I mean, say that, like, hey, this is something that I live with, and it's this is how it
what
affects
you
my
deserve
life.
to know.
Right, you deserve to know.
Just
And
give-
honesty, and if you're not going to start a relationship with honesty, like, what are you building
says
a
a lot
relationship
about
on?
your character.
Yeah.
And that's not a good
That's a
foundation.
biggie. That's
Agreed.
a
Good one.
biggie.
That's
Health
a good
history is important.
Hiding
Absolutely.
things. No, you don't want to do things in secret.
Guys, we want to know what you think about this. If you see that QR code down below, scan that. That's going to lead you to our Homefront Defenders page on Facebook. It's a private group. Go ahead and click that invite so we can admit you into that group. We've had a lot of great discussions, people that will share stories there. I'd like to know, do you think that HIV and your HIV positive test should be something that should be something you're talking about in a relationship, or are we just going to pretend it's not there anymore? We'd love to hear from you. Guys, we're all out of time today. I want to thank Cape Hayes Tavern for the yummy food that we have backstage. We love that they feed us. I also want to give you the homework is to join the Homefront Defenders. Guys, one of the other guys that joins us on there, Matt Youngblood. I'm calling you out right here, Matt, because we love you. You go in there and you leave us some of our would you rather questions or our icebreaker questions. If there's something you'd like to know from our panel, hey, put it out there. We'd love to answer you. Can we go ahead and close in prayer, ladies?
Yes,
all right,
certainly.
join us at home. Thank you, Lord. Father, we just come before you today, and we thank you for this time together to fellowship with our friends, to have a platform of free speech right here where we can talk about things that a lot of other people in media are not addressing and not talking about. We touched base today, Lord, on war and on our men and women who go into battle and into harm's way. Lord, I know your word says there's a time and a place for everything under heaven and on this earth, Lord. But when it comes to war, I just really want to pray for our men and women who put on that uniform, who make that choice to serve in our military. Lord, I'm asking that you go with them. You go with the leadership of our military. You go with those who are making those decisions. You give them godly wisdom and discernment so that they can make choices for us as to whether or not how we're going to handle our international relations. And I know that starts with who is leading, who's at the helm. And so, Father, I pray your special anointing and protection over Donald J. Trump, over his family, over those that will surround him as he goes into this new election. Lord, we don't wish anything bad on Biden or any of his family or the opponents. Lord, I'm just asking that you restore America to its rightful standing as that beacon, that shining beacon on a hill that we were under President Donald J. Trump's, under his rule. And I just thank you so much that he would be, we would have a free election, free and fair election, that Donald J. Trump and his, the people he brings with him will restore our republic, so that we can be that wonderful nation that others look to for guidance and for leadership, and that we can have peace, Lord, on this side of heaven. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Lord. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us today. Go to the homefront.tv. Make sure you subscribe to get our premium membership, and we'll see you next time right here on the Homefront.